And so, and it's a ratio, but it's in their heads because they've seen it done enough
It's a
times.
dash of this. Yeah.
They just look at it and they like, okay, we actually need a little bit more of this. But the last time I made it, my parents were here and it was like, oh, we're gonna have peach cobbler, and we'd already put it all together and it was coming out of the oven. My mom asked, "Did you put this in the bottom of the pan?" Like, no, that was in there. How would I have known? Never write it down. Like, help me out. Just put it down on a recipe card, then we can all have it. But if I could have an entire pan of that, that's probably would be the last thing that I
That
would have.
sounds amazing. Now I want peach cobbler, and I'm not a humongous peach cobbler fan, but that just the thought now, like I said, when you said, yeah, did you describe it? Great grandma, like, it's got to be good. Like
Especially,
it's got to be the best damn peach cobbler you've ever tasted.
we're both from Georgia, so that is well Southern cooked.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But my great mother is actually from Texas originally. She married, they moved east, and ended up in Georgia. But everything she made was definitely Southern.
Oh, it's fantastic. I was always the same way with my mother. My mother, like, and especially when I was living in the Northeast, and I would come home and visit, and I was usually coming home to visit because I had a wrestling show around. I would make sure those trips piggybacked on top of each other. Well, I can see family, but I can actually make some money and perform too. So I'd always go to her house before a show, and then she would make like this full spread and here, eat all of this. I'm like, I'm literally going to be in the ring in a couple hours. Like, I can't eat all of this. I appreciate it, and it's the good old Southern stuff where it's literally like 6 different sources of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna have to go to sleep after this.
So you'll be fully loaded for the next day.
Yes, yeah, we're good. I can run a marathon. That's
Yeah. Several weeks ago, I went for a run. I'll only do it's a 5K, essentially it's 3.1 miles. But the reason why I only do it that distance is the time that it starts. I have to make sure that I'm done running in time to be able to feed my son. So I went for this little run, but before I ran, always need some kind of a snack. Usually I have chocolate milk and a coffee. Usually always a coffee. The caffeine is helpful, um, just because it's later in the day and I need to be able to move.
need that pick me up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I decided on this particular day, I was like, I'll just have some oatmeal. What a horrible choice. I was running, and I don't know about you, but I like my oatmeal currently prepared with about a tablespoon of peanut butter in it and 1 to 2 tablespoons of dark chocolate Hershey syrup, special dark.
Oh, and I'll see if I tried to run with all that in my stomach, I wouldn't felt well either.
I mean, I mean, I've run with lots of food in my stomach before, but it's really the oatmeal because the beautiful part about oatmeal is it has slow gastric emptying.
And see that, and oatmeal is actually part of my pre-workout routine every morning, but I'm lifting first. I'm not immediately going out on a run like you.
Exactly. If I had not been like jostling my body, bouncing up and down with every step, that would have been a lot better. But
yeah, I'm not going to doing plyometrics after my cup of oatmeal. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was the worst part about it. I mean, definitely by the end of the run, it was fine. But by the end of the run, we were talking about earlier about a 10-minute walk. Your body's movement is helping the food move through your tract. That's where that part of that study came out of. But something that came out of that study. But the beautiful part about it, I guess, in the end, I didn't feel like crap because my body had plenty of carbohydrates in it that was available for it after to recover. So I don't really need a recovery thing, even though I had a beer anyways. Because that's the whole point of the run. Go hang out.
Exactly.
Run
Yeah.
30 minutes, see my kid, hang out with people, and have a beer.
You're like a Michelob Ultra commercial. It's exactly what you are. So if they're seeking out to sponsor a fitness and nutrition podcast, I'd be all for that. Or just send me a case of beer. We're good.
Matt Sells is the Mick Ultra. I am unfortunately not the Mick Ultra guy. Like I said earlier, I brew beer for fun. I've been bringing my own homebrew to the runs. One, it's a cost saving measure, but also I think it tastes good and it doesn't cost me like $15.
Right. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
see, I'm not as talented as you with the brewing of the beer. So yeah, I go and buy the cheap, easy light beer. Give me
yeah.
Mick Ultra or Miller Lite, and
Yeah.
like I said, the Mick Ultra just speaks to me because I'm like, okay, let's go work out, and then we can go have a beer, like you're talking about. So their advertising knows their demo. So
Mick Ultra wants to pay me to brew beer. I will. That would also be fine for me. Um, but let's back up just a second. So, since we're talking about all these different things and talking about clients that we work with, can you tell a story about a patient that touched your heart, or uh, how that patient or client changed the way that you practice when you're talking about fitness and things like that?
absolutely. I had a client one time that she was 350 pounds. So obviously she had this lofty goal of, losing. She always put it that she wanted to be half a person. She literally wanted to lose half her body weight, which for her height and everything was an appropriate goal. But it was being able to kind of get through to her and really empathizing. And I think that's a thing that a lot of fitness professionals have a difficult time doing, because a lot of fitness professionals you run into, are former athletes or current athletes. And I don't want to say it's been easy for them, because you can tell that they've put in the work, but that it's not easy for them to empathize with them. And fortunately for me, the empathy comes fairly easy. I was much heavier as a child, and I lost about 75 pounds through eating less and exercising more, those activities that you can last a lifetime, and becoming better educated about that. So really sitting down and not so much prescribing to her, not so much telling her what to do, but creating this conversation with her. And that really kind of changed the way that I trained, because a lot of people, it's very easy in our realm, for you and for me, I'm sure, that you want to educate. You want to go, here's the information, just do it. And that isn't always the best course to do. And so with her, it really kind of opened up my eyes that I'm not necessarily the educator in this. I'm the sounding board, and I want to be able to, for us to formulate a plan together of what your plan of attack looks like, what, not just what you're doing in the gym, but what you're going to be doing, those activities of daily living you're doing on the outside, and the tracking of your fitness. And we'll hook you up with a registered dietitian, which we did. And she was well on her way when I'm not working with her anymore, but she was well on her way to losing her weight. She'd already lost 50 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So to kind of, yeah, to go from here, do it, to realizing it's a collaborative process, because a lot of people know what they need to do. They need that support network, and that's what we can offer. That's what we can offer here at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, is we can offer that support from the physical standpoint of, I can give you the programming, and I can offer the motivation with that, and answer any questions, and the same with you with the nutrition aspect. Because yeah, it'd be very easy for us to just go here, but learning to kind of have the empathy, and then being able to create that collaborative process, that really changed me a lot. How about you?
Yeah, I have a similar story, but to what you're talking about, one of the things that we do here is we work with more coaching people and helping you find your own goals and finding the ways that you know how to help yourself. Because there's a lot of hard parts where we put up our own barriers and our own blocks into things. We don't realize that we put them there. And we help you remove those. That way you can continue to live the healthiest life that you can. And I think a lot of what I do on the clinical side of things inside of a hospital is more telling people this is what you can and cannot have. This is how you need to eat when you leave here, or at least for the next 2 weeks until you follow up with insert provider. Um, and that is what we are trained and what we're told that we need to do, because really it is an impatient kind of thing. And we're only trying to give you the keys to your success. I'm handing you a hammer and a nail and telling you go to work.
Right.
Um, Whereas what we do through Franchise Nutrition and Fitness is, yes, I will give you that hammer and that nail, but I'm going to be right next to you with another hammer and another nail. We're going to
It's
both.
it's the teach a man to fish mentality. Yeah. And in an ideal world, from a business standpoint, I think, yeah, we would love to work with everybody forever. And every one of our clients is always going to be with us, and we build those connections and build those relationships, and they're always going to be there. But in an ideal world, that and in the real world, that doesn't happen. You're going to work with somebody for a certain amount of time, for whatever number of sessions that they want to work with you for, and then they're on their way. And what you want to do is, as a professional, is have given them the tools for success, and not just gone, all right, here's the plan, here's the nutrition plan, here's the fitness plan, because it does them no good. They haven't educated themselves. They're just following an order, instead of going, okay, I know how to build a workout program now that's going to fit my needs, it's going to fit my goals. I know how to pick the proper foods and the proper ratios, instead of just going, okay, well, I'm going to follow this for the rest of my life.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what with a patient that um, helped me be better at what I do. I had a guy that's similar to your patient, or your client, sorry. I had a patient that was around, we think he was around 540 pounds. But that's kind of one of the issues that we have, is you're not able to weigh people
Right.
inappropriately. There's scales can only go up to so long. So if you are topping out a certain scale and we don't have the availability of grabbing another scale to get you there, like generally most scales that we use in the hospital setting uh, only can go up to like 600 or 700 pounds. And the reason for that is certain pieces of equipment can't tolerate additional weight beyond
Right.
that. Um, and for those patients, generally what we're trying to do overall is help them better manage their weight, because that's going to help them better manage other chronic conditions. And when I walked into this particular patient's room, the first thing after I introduced myself, what my role was in the hospital, how long I was going to be there, and all of those different pieces of when you go into a patient's room, the first thing he said was, I don't need a registered dietitian because all you want to talk to me about is losing weight. And
He'd heard that his entire life, I'm sure. And he, you weren't going to tell him anything he didn't already know. He knew he needed to lose weight, right? Like, I'm sure he wasn't in denial about that.
it's not a surprise to him. And which is the harder part with it overall, is because that is one of the things that I need to discuss with him, but also really I was there for something completely different that wasn't at all related to his weight, but it was related to another chronic condition that he had. And we need to manage that. And then we can worry about your weight. But
Right.
in that, the way that I practice it, the funny thing, we're talking about health is your relationship with the food. I don't, the opening question that I have with patients inside of a hospital is, how's food going for you? Like, are you eating well? That's fine. You feel like it's well for you? That's good. How much of your meals? Like, that's kind of really what I'm there to talk about. And that's how it changed my practices. I'm not coming in to tell you to lose weight. I'm coming by to see how food's going for you.
Right.
Is it still going well for you? Okay, well then here's some things we can work on that's going to help out what we're doing. Uh, and that's really the bigger point of it all, because I was able to talk with that person, like talk him off the ledge. Like, we're not here about your weight. I'm at,
Right. He was automatically apprehensive just because he knew what your role was, and because of every other person in that role he's dealt with.
yeah, everybody else that he's dealt with. And then also, no offense to the other medical providers, but I'm sure somebody in there said, we're going to have the registered dietitian come by and talk with you.
Yep.
And which is the other part, we're talking about, what do your parents think you do? That's what everybody thinks all I do is like tell people what to eat and not to eat. That's
Right.
very little of what I do. It really is more on coaching behaviors and thinking about ways that food can help improve our lives, not deter it. But so in that though, so not the same person, but what's the biggest compliment that you've ever gotten from a client?
I actually got this one a couple months ago, and you see, I smile as I think about it. The world doesn't deserve you, which was like I can't think of a higher compliment. And it was literally, I felt like I was just doing my job. like we were built. It was actually a health coaching client, so we were not just focusing on fitness, but focusing some on stress management and just getting her life in order. She had a lot going on, and so it was very easy again to want to go, okay, let's work on your fitness, and you need to lose a little bit of weight, and you have some blood pressure issues, and this and that. But there was more going on than that. And so I think she had worked with other professionals in the past that you neglect the individual and you neglect the human being, and you do that, and you're not going to reach somebody. So just sitting down and just talking to her and going, okay, here's how we can prioritize these tasks. Here's how we can get rid of some of those additional stressors, because you have enough stressors. Don't want to stress you out anymore. The last thing I want you to do is go, well, I got to go see Matt today. And it's, oh no, that's an additional thing. Like we're not doing that. So to get that compliment was the highest thing I think anybody could say to me, because it meant she believed that much in what I do, and knew that I genuinely cared. And so for her to genuinely care about what I do, about me genuinely caring, was a very touching thing. So how about you?
Yeah,
can you top that? Does the world deserve you? I'm not. I lack a little bit of modesty at times.
Yeah, hey, I am only as conceited as I need to be, which is probably very. But the funny part with it is, mine is a little bit different than yours. Same vein.
Good. I don't want us to tell the same story.
The funny part with mine is that a guy told me one time, "You're not going to let me bullshit you, and that's what I need right now." I was like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm needed."
That's perfect.
Yeah, he's giving me this round rigmarole about why he needed to be one way or the other, and I said, no, that's completely wrong.
And sometimes you just need somebody to call you out on your stuff. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to verbally hear it from another human being, because you're full of shit, but you just need somebody to call you out.
Yeah, that's the really funny thing with it. I was talking with my wife the other day, and she was actually referencing a conversation that she had with you and I, and probably some other people were there. But it was talking about the original group of the franchise. So Matt, me, our friend Nigel, and my uncle Rick, the four of us. And she had said, we were all talking, and Matt said, well, Ryan out of all of us is the serious asshole. She said, then Ryan, you just said, yeah, that's true. It's still the truth.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think we've been told before that individually we're very charming and fun to be around, but collectively, if we're feeding off of each other, it can be a little difficult.
The more you add in, the greater the flavor, but the little harder it is to take.
You were talking about being called out in your BS. My favorite moment of that happening to me that I will never forget, I was actually in college. It was in a motor learning and performance class, which I loved, and I loved that professor to death. He was amazing. And so it was, the tests were ridiculous. They were very rigorous. And there was an essay question. I can't remember what the essay question was, but I had always been one of those people throughout school that I could kind of skate by a little bit and BS my way to an answer and get partial credit, even if I didn't know. And so I had no clue. So I wrote this long diatribe, like, he'll pick something out. He'll see something. And so I get the paper back the next day, and he just wrote, all fluff. This is pure bullshit. 0 points.
That's awesome.
And nobody had ever called me out on it before. And so, they changed the way I thought of doing stuff. I'm like, okay, I actually have to provide some substance to this guy, which I enjoyed. It's nice to, you want to be angry, but you're like, no, like he's right. So I was much, very similar to your patient there. I needed somebody to call me out my BS at that point.
Yeah.
It made me work even harder in his class.
I had a bonus question on a chemistry exam that was, you had to calculate the amount of calories in an apple. And there's a way to do that through the carbon and all, because it's just carbohydrates. Each one has a certain amount of calories.
Well, here in 2020, I just opened up my FitnessPal and we're fine.
This was way back. Definitely pre-smartphone abilities, but The funny part was I just wrote 60 period hyphen dietetics major. And he
I
gave me
know because I know.
yeah, he gave me partial credit, and I went and we were in this study group, and the professor was there, and he gave me partial credit, and he I said, why didn't I get full credit for this? And he said, well, you got the answer right, but you didn't show your work. And I said, you didn't see dietetics major on the side?
I've done this work before. Like I don't have anything to prove to you.
Yeah. I don't think you understand. There's a lot of work that's implied in that major. I took all those tests, so I really do know what I'm talking about. But that's the funny part with all of it. The more that you think that you know, the more you realize you don't know anything.
And that's my favorite thing about working in the fitness industry is constantly learning and becoming better, and the new research coming out and finding out not even necessarily better ways to do stuff, but different ways to do stuff, and learning about being able to provide modifications and progressions for working with different types of clients. I love the learning process. I'm a perpetual student. I think as you are. I think as was evident with you changing your majors and stuff throughout college, and finally finding one that is your true passion. But yeah, I love that I don't know everything. Life would be very boring if I did, and so I always find it great to be able to connect with other professionals and pass that information and that knowledge on to the people I work with.
Yeah, I think it's a hard part now, especially with the culture that we all live in currently, where everything has to be one side or the other side, no
Hmm.
matter what topic you're talking about. And really, the problem is that it's probably more in the middle. And you need to be able to have that open dialogue with people on both sides of whatever issue it is, and whether it's a nutrition thing or a fitness thing. I mean, there's plenty of ways to get something done that gets you to the
Absolutely,
point.
because on the exercise realm of it, it's always this is the absolute best exercise for everything, or do not ever perform this exercise. It's like I'm not a big fan of the phrases always or never, because usually that's an easy way to get called out on something. You should always do this or you should never do this. Like deadlifts for a lot of people are controversial. For general population, I'm probably not going to have a lot of my clients who are going to be, have lower back issues deadlifting. Probably not. Maybe some sort of modification for it. But if I've got a professional wrestler that's picking people up off the mat, yeah, I'm going to deadlift because it's resembles a very sports specific movement. Again, that risk versus reward. But some people are going to come up to you and go, oh no, deadlifts are the be all end all and everybody should do them. Or a lot of people are going to go, they should never be performed. So it's just that's an example that always comes to my mind.
Yeah. My favorite always or never example is leg extensions. I know physical therapists that half of them will tell you you should never do leg extensions. Other half will tell you that they might help with your knee function.
Hmm.
And the reason why I love that is, and as my sister-in-law is a physical therapist, and I asked her about it one time, and she told me that it really depends on who taught you, because they all learned something different.
Right.
They all are doctors of physical therapy, and so they're all gonna say that this is the end all be all. This is the absolute. And she even says it may be good for you, may not be for you. It depends on what's going on with your knee.
Right. No, like when I had a torn ACL, I did leg extensions till I was tired of doing leg extensions, like, and it was beneficial. I had to build my quadriceps back up. It was nice to have that open kinetic chain exercise where I wasn't having to have my feet planted on the floor and wasn't having to do full weight bearing, and so it got me to the range of motion I needed to be in to get back to where I was. So I'm very thankful that my physical therapist subscribed to the thought that leg extensions were okay.
Right? Yeah. And as far as nutrition, there are no absolutes. Nutrition itself is such a young science comparatively. Uh, the oldest feeding tube was placed in ancient Rome, so that's not young. But the only reason why they put it there was because they knew that's where food came out. So they put something in somebody rectally because they figured they could just put food back in that way. Didn't work. But either way, that was the only evidence of
Yeah, I don't ever want a feeding tube applied that way. I would prefer never to have a feeding tube, but if I have to, I prefer orally.
Yeah, yeah, orally or nasogastrally. Personally, that's my way to go. But the funny thing is with the absolutes of nutrition, when we look at it as a true science, really it started in World War II is really what it came out of, is this science of how do we feed people that have been starving? How do we make sure that we don't kill them by feeding them food? Because you do have to go kind of slowly because there's other catastrophic events. If you start feeding somebody too quickly, it can happen. So you have to be really conscious of that, feeding somebody that is so severely malnourished. But the thing that implies with that is that people will frequently say that when it comes to food, this is the absolute 100% truth. And the
Yep.
really, I'm already on the, as we've talked about, and we will continue to talk about, the one absolute truth of nutrition is that it is your relationship with food that's going to help you be better.
And the second one is to avoid shark fin soup, right?
Yeah, that's the underline. Healthy shark fin soup, not healthy. So that's kind of the one food behavior that is not good for you is eating shark fin soup. Um, but so um, let's go ahead and we're going to skip down just a little bit here. Hopefully, we'll be able to break this up into a couple of parts. We'll see what happens as far as pilots go concerned for the beginning of the Franchise Nutrition and Fitness podcast. And we'll actually have some more specific topics later on through the things. But um, what should we, what should I have asked, or what should people ask you that we didn't know enough to ask?
It's a lot of asking. I'm a visual kinesthetic learner, so I actually need to see it written out to think about it for a second.
Yeah, think or speak.
uh, so what's your answer with that? Because I've got 5,000. I've got 0 and 5,000 things at the same time swirling through my head with that one.
So I think really what the biggest thing that people should know is that um, I'm not going to vilify anything that you do, but I really do want you to be better. And a lot of times, the way that I say things, people become defensive. But that's just because I'm speaking from a point that I want you to be as best as you can possibly be. And I don't want you to walk around going out there in the world thinking that you can't be as great as you want to be. So I'm only trying to help you get there.
That's a good one. I like that. I think the main thing for me that I need to tell people, and I tell people this a lot, is that at the end of the day, exercise is fun. Like, and because you'll get people that will walk into the gym or get people that walk into a health coaching scenario, and I don't like exercise. Okay, you don't like the modalities of exercise that you've tried. We're going to find something you enjoy. There's something out there that you enjoy, because somebody can prescribe to me and tell me that the be all end all form of cardiovascular exercise is running. You love running. I hate running. I have a surgery. Even before this, I hated running. But I have a surgically reconstructed ankle. I had ACL surgery. I have some other lower body issues. So you can tell me that I need to run every day. I'm not going to do it. Number one, I don't like it. Number two, it doesn't feel good. So I'm not going to do it. So at the end of the day, exercise should be something you enjoy. It shouldn't be this arduous process. Because I always let I did this boot camp and I went so hard that I puked. No, that's your body telling you that's a defense mechanism. That's you shouldn't get to that point. You should feel as good, if not better, when you're done with your workout session. Because you think about it, those endorphins are being released in your brain. You've got a little high afterwards, a good natural high. Like, so why should you feel awful? I want to walk out of the gym and go, I'm really happy. I'm a morning workout guy. Like, I love to work out in the morning because I know I'm walking out and I'm ready for the day. That's a good place to be. So yeah, at the end of the day, exercise is fun, and find a modality of exercise you enjoy, which I can help you do.
Yeah. And it's funny though, I do not love running.
It's just ingrained in you.
Deep inside of me, I can't get rid of it. The funny thing I always laugh about when I walk into my regular job, I have to go across overhead bridge that goes across a road. And when I go across that bridge, there's always people in front of me. and instinctually I start going faster so I can catch up.
You're like, I can't be second place.
And then pass it, yeah, and then pass them. I'm like, I need to get past that person, and then the next person, like, I go down this a couple of flights of stairs, and I go outside of a door that goes out to the
You're a true athlete.
actual building. And I'm like, oh, there's another person, and it's just like, I'm like picking people off. So I'm like walking inside. People are always like, you walk really fast. I'm like, oh, it's just my normal speed. But I mean, I'm sure that it probably is my normal speed, but it's because my normal speed is whatever gets me in front of that next one. So
constant competition.
Yeah, it's not who is it? Einstein said, if you are chasing perfection, you will achieve excellence, which is absolutely true. Like if you
well, just like Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't first, you're last. Another great philosopher, right?
Oh man, we were just quoting Ricky Bobby earlier. My wife decided to make crepes for breakfast, or yeah, we have some French friends that corrected us, and they were arduously telling us that it is crepe and not crepe. Like, okay.
Typical Americans screwing everything up, right?
Yeah, we're really good at that.
Should be somewhere on the flag.
Throw it out into the sea. But either way, we were talking about that. Like, oh, those are the thin pancakes. Yeah, thin pancakes. Oh man. But I think that's gonna wrap it up. We've been
that's
here for
good
about an hour. That's a good pilot time. We talked about lots of different things. Like I said, going forward through the Franchise Nutrition, Fitness, and Podcasts, we're gonna try and talk a little bit more about some specific topics. Try and keep these things to a little bit concise. So whether you're sitting down for a meal and you want to kick back and watch this on your favorite device to watch things on, or if you're going to listen to it while you're enjoying your favorite adult beverage, whether it's a cocktail, a wine, or your favorite craft beer like me, we hope that this comes through to you to a point where it helps you live happier and healthier.
Yeah, we want you to, get a little bit of information and be entertained simultaneously, like hopefully, you enjoy, you sit down with us, you listen to us yak a little bit, but it's informative at the same time. And we're happy to have you on board, and can't wait to work with you as clients in both the fitness and nutrition realm, or if not, just join us and hang out and listen to the podcast. No judgments.
No judgments. Yeah. Either way, Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, maximize every bite, maximize every rep.